Yeah, thank you, Megan. I forgot to unmute my mic. All right, well, let's start over. Last night I was listening to this lady. She was doing a live broadcast, and she was upset, and it bothered me to see this lady upset because I think a lot of her. This fella Patrick Burns, who used to be the head of Overstock.com, has apparently written this book. I looked, I couldn't find any book, but Burns led us all to believe that he was in tight with Trump and knew all this stuff that was going on. And hello, Nicole. Good to see you. But I got distracted. All these plans to overturn the selection in November, the fraud, which I'll probably regret using that word, but they went through all this nonsense and they led us to believe that this thing was going to be overturned, and they kept putting us off and stalling us with this has to happen, that has to happen. You have to let these people commit the crime. I heard that a lot, several times, that no, it can't be done yet because all the pieces aren't in place. Let these people commit this crime. Let them commit that crime. Let them finish. And then Trump's going to swoop down and cuff them and stuff them, execute the treasonous bastards, whatever. And I'm going to upset some of you, but folks, Trump ain't coming back. Trump was removed by the deep state, and he had to be removed so the deep state could continue this slide into communism that if you can't see that coming, you ain't looking, man. You know what Trump did, though? He did what he was put here to do. He opened our eyes to the corruption, the foul, evil that this government has become. And I do believe maybe that was his mission in the White House, to show us, to open our eyes. Because certainly, if you can't see it now, you ain't looking. So the lady that I'm talking about was actually angry with Trump for letting us down. And I don't think he let us down. I think he did the best he could. Look what he did for this country in 4 years. Overturned 30 to 50 years of incompetence. So now everybody is all hung up on Q. They're going to come in and save us. Trust the plan. Well, I got some ideas on this that I got from another gentleman, and if you bear with me while I read this piece to you, because he says it much better than I could ever articulate. And I'm going to warn you, I hate reading out loud, and I absolutely detest being read to. So if I lose you, I understand, but try to stick with me here and listen to this just a little bit. It's only a page. But this is what I believe about this plan. And I'm just going to get into it because he says it so much better than I can that I just got to read it to you. Over the past several months, a belief has grown, and this is 6 months now or so that we've been talking this. Belief has grown through individual analysis of the Q posts that Trump and the military are currently in complete control of the country. And people still believe this. Trump's still in control. Trump's got it. According to several unreliable sources, such as Simon Parks and Scott McKay and We Know TV, I personally never heard of them, but according to these people, Biden, along with several Congress members that we see on the nightly news, are clones. And I've heard that. You've heard that. Now, the plan is for these clone actors to make life so miserable for Americans that it, quote unquote, wakes up the people. That's what we're hearing. It's, you got to wait. It's got to get bad. I figure some poor guy laying in the hospital and he's dying of cancer. And they've got the cure. They got a surefire cure for cancer. And the nurses are saying, well, doc, don't you think we ought to go ahead and give this to him now? And the doctor says, no, he's got to be almost dead so that everybody sees how wonderful this cure is. That's kind of what this plan is all about. But at this point, once we wake up, the military would supposedly take control and carry out mass arrests of corrupt government officials. Sometime after, Trump would be reinstated as president. And according to these sources, these entities are so confident, in fact, that they demand that we stay calm and not worry, insisting that we only need to pray as everything unfolds before us as part of the plan. Now, folks, I'm a firm believer in prayer. My faith in God is strong. He showed it to me many times. But an old guy told me something years ago that I never forgot. You can't stand there and lean on your shovel and pray for a hole. God's there. He'll help us. But he expects us to help ourselves. And standing around waiting for some daggone plan to be implemented, I don't think that's in God's plan, and that's the real plan. But now, for obvious reasons, this is preposterous, this plan deal, and eerily similar to another historically significant event. After the 1917 Russian Revolution, in which the Marxist ideologue Bolsheviks overthrew the Tsar, sparking a 3-year civil war, Soviet forces under Vladimir Lenin implemented what they called Operation Trust. Dig that. This counterintelligence operation created a sham anti-Bolshevik organization in 1921. Okay, following me? This propagated the false impression that military leaders had organized to end the communist power grab. Communist power grab. This served two purposes, folks. It kept any average citizen who opposed the communists docile. Calm down. In the hopes that they were about to be saved, and it also lured out high-profile anti-Bolshevik leaders who were seeking to join the fake organization. Watch your militias. Just don't get tight with just anybody really quick. Obviously, this operation was a success. Several anti-communist conspirators were arrested and executed, and the Soviet Union was formed in 1922. And hundreds of thousands of people died. Want to know why? They'd been disarmed. So they just rounded them up and shot them. Got ahead of myself. The years that followed saw millions of Russia's own citizenry rounded up, imprisoned, and executed simply for their anti-communist political beliefs. Cancel culture. Stalin's reign alone is credited with more death than Hitler's Holocaust ever caused. Now this is what I think is the truth. At best, the plan is a lucrative, unreliable, yet imaginative conspiracy theory, keeping patriots high on false hope, while their country is torn to shreds in front of them. At its worst, it's a psychological operation propagated by our enemy to lure us into a false sense of security. In either case, I argue without doubt, it is encouraging complacency among our ranks. It gives us all the false impression that others will do our fighting for us, and that we don't need to shoulder the mantle ourselves. Somebody come save me, please. After all, If someone else is going to do our work, why would we get our own hands dirty? With this much at stake, we can't afford to remain docile, and we cannot have the fight for our freedom neutered by fantasy. And I think those are some pretty significant words. We can't have the fight for freedom neutered by fantasy. We can't be sitting around waiting on somebody else to show up. Just this past 2-3 weeks, there's just so much crazy stuff going on that it's really hard to believe what we're seeing and hearing. This deal with Major League Baseball, I spoke on that last week or 2 or 3 days ago. And it's out in the news. They say, the news says they've cost the city of Atlanta $100 million by pulling out of the All-Star game. Well, the city of Atlanta, folks, is just fine. You know who lost that money? That poor guy out there that had all these T-shirts printed up that he was hoping to sell outside the stadium. He couldn't afford a ticket to the game, but maybe he was going to make a few bucks selling T-shirts outside the stadium. The bed and breakfast, the hotels, the working stiffs, they're the ones that got hurt. These politicians don't care. They're not giving anything up. You know, it's just like this lockdown all last spring and summer. Politicians didn't lose a dime on that. The people that made the decisions, fat and happy. While all the poor working stiffs lost businesses that they'll never regain. You know, people couldn't go to work. The schools closed. They had to stay home with their kids. And the money that just the common man lost. And the politicians, they probably even made more. So I am happy to see a movement, especially over the weekend, about fighting this cancel culture. People are starting to stand up. There was a phrase that I heard here. I heard it more than one time over the weekend. And it's a good message for these big corporations. Get woke, go broke. And folks, when these corporations start acting like they have been, let's get 150 million of us to just stop buying their products. Hey, if it's only for a week, anybody can do without a Coke. Anybody can shop mom and pop store instead of Walmart. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but isn't your country more important than, a little convenience or saving a few bucks? Look at our gas prices and lumber. Man, I am seeing a single sheet 3/4 inch plywood is $95. That means the floor of my shop, it cost me, I think I remember it cost about $1,200 because I built the shop myself. Right now, the floor of that shop, and it's only, I think it's 12 by 16. Floor of that shop today would almost cost me $1,000. And that's before I put any walls up or siding or roof. Man, we can't go on like this. And this is all the fault of a group of people that have installed a puppet to be their mouthpiece. Well, he's not even a very good mouthpiece. And they're taking us for a ride. I've already reiterated, we work a quarter of our lives for nothing so that we can pay taxes to these people. They line their pockets. They waste our money. Numbers. We got to come together, unite, rise up against this stuff. For years and years, didn't matter how dirty the other side got, we always said, we're above that. We can't act like that. We're better than that. People, we're in a fight for our lives here. And if y'all ain't willing to get a little bit dirty, we're going to die. And that's just the bottom line of it. I started out when all this nonsense from November. I'm a firm believer in the right of secession. And I have been warned not to say that word, but folks, you can't stay in a bad and what's going to turn into a violent marriage. You can't do it. The best thing to do is peacefully separate. And I go my way in peace. I wish you peace. But we got to get away from this. The last thing anybody wants is this country broken up, but it can't stay together the way it is. It can't go on with people losing their right to go outside like they want to, like their God meant for us to. Certain other rights they're talking about taking away. That is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And I think the best thing to do is let these folks go their way. We go our way. I equate the word red states with good people. You forgive me for that. But what people don't realize is the power we've got. The red states, if we have to use that term, we produce most of the food in this country. We produce most of the energy in this country. We do just fine without those folks. And maybe if they're nice to us, we sell them a little bit. But I don't know what else, because I'm seeing people, there's a mood in this country that I'm seeing both in public and online. Things are getting grim. People are fed up to the gills. And being an old burner mechanic, I know that a sealed unit, and water gets hot and pressure keeps building. If you don't have a safety pop off on there, you're going to get a big explosion. And a lot of people are going to get hurt, and we don't want that. See to your state legislators and let them know these states have every right. We're sovereign states. Founding fathers said free and independent states. And things are not working out the way things are. People have forgotten that these states existed long before the federal government. The states created the federal government, not the other way around. And now the federal government is so out of control that the people that are running it think they're kings. They're not kings. They're servants. And they were put in place to be servants, and they've forgotten that. So anyway, I don't know what else to tell you tonight. We just cannot afford to keep going the way we are. And we can't afford to sit around and wait for somebody else to come to the rescue, because that's not happening. Your help is at the end of your arm. So let's get up, get strong, get mean, fight back. Don't put up with this nonsense with these corporations. It is so easy, man. Like I said, 150 million people say, I don't need Coca-Cola this week. Think of what that would do. Think of the power. But we have to get together. We got to organize. And I think that's about all I got tonight. I'm getting tired. So anyway, hey, hang in there and do have faith in God, but God expects us to get up and work and save ourselves. He'll help us. He'll stand behind us. But he ain't going to do it for us, folks. So God bless America. We love her. We want her intact. We got to do what we got to do. Hey, I love you guys. Everybody have a good night. All right. Bye-bye.